Hello, this is your Algerian teacher and welcome to Grow the Branches channel. Today, we're going to see one major concept in the humanities, liberalism. What is liberalism? Liberalism is a political and economic doctrine that emphasizes individual autonomy, equality of opportunity, and the protection of individual rights against the state and later against both the state and private economic actors, including businesses. Like Marxism, economic liberalism is the philosophy of politics and economics. It is important to understand that a philosophy can lead to a political and economic system. These are philosophers and thinkers first who come up with an idea, and then the state or the government adopts that idea and implements it as a political and economic system. For example, Marxism, invented by the philosopher Karl Marx, whose picture is on the slide, explains that economic changes are caused by social classes inequalities. Adopting a philosophy of Marxism can lead, for example, to the following systems: socialism and communism. Socialism is an economic and political system in which large industries are owned by the government, and taxes are used to take some wealth away from richer citizens and give it to poorer citizens. Communism is a political system in which the government controls the production of all food and goods, and there is no privately owned property. Economic liberalism is a political and economic philosophy based on strong support for a market economy and private property in the means of production. In other words, liberalization is very important from the point of view of production so as to access the market. Liberalism focuses on liberalizing the economy as much as it can. Liberalism in economics might lead, for example, to capitalism. Capitalism is an economic and political system in which businesses belong mostly to private owners, not to the government. In other words, liberalism is a philosophy of politics and economics, and capitalism can be one way of applying that philosophy into reality and into a system. Now, what is capitalism? Generally speaking, capitalism is an economic system characterized by the private ownership of property and competition in the pursuit of profit. In a capitalist society, individuals, groups, and corporations can own the means of producing services and products, whereas under communism, almost all of the means of production are owned by the state. Under capitalism, businesses compete to produce goods to sell to consumers at the lowest price possible. Karl Marx's famous critique of capitalism emphasized that the generation of profits by business owners depended on the exploitation of workers, resulting in alienated labor. Several contemporary societies are often described as being in a condition of consumer capitalism or consumerism, where marketing and advertising play an ever-increasing role in stimulating new desires in consumers. Who were the intellectual founders of liberalism? The intellectual founders of liberalism were the English philosopher John Locke, who developed a theory of political authority based on natural individual rights and the consent of the governed. Second, the Scottish economist and philosopher Adam Smith, who argued that societies prosper when individuals are free to pursue their self-interests within an economic system based on private ownership of the means of production and competitive markets controlled neither by the state nor private monopolies. John Locke, an English philosopher whose works lie at the foundation of modern philosophical empiricism and political liberalism. He was an inspirer of both the European Enlightenment and the Constitution of the United States. His philosophical thinking was close to that of the founders of modern science, especially Robert Boyle, Sir Isaac Newton, and other members of the Royal Society. His political thought was grounded in the notion of a social contract between citizens and in the importance of toleration, especially in matters of religion. Much of what he advocated in the realm of politics was accepted in England after the Glorious Revolution of 1688 until 89, and in the United States after the country's declaration of independence in 1776. John Locke's most famous works are An Essay Concerning Human Understanding, in which he developed his theory of ideas and his account of the origins of human knowledge and experience, and two treatises of government, in which he defended a theory of political authority based on natural individual rights and freedoms and the consent of the governed. Adam Smith. a Scottish social philosopher and political economist. After 2 centuries, Adam Smith remains a towering figure in the history of economic thought, known primarily for a single work, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations, the first comprehensive system of political economy. Smith is more properly regarded as a social philosopher whose economic writings constitute only the capstone to an overarching view of political and social evolution. If his masterwork is viewed in relation to his earlier lectures on moral philosophy and government, as well as to allusions in the Theory of Moral Sentiments in 1759 to a work he hoped to write on the general principles of law and government and of the different revolutions they have undergone in the different ages and periods of society, then The Wealth of Nations may be seen not merely as a treatise on economics, but also as a partial exposition of a much larger scheme of historical evolution. Adam Smith is known primarily for a single work, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations, also known as The Wealth of Nations, the first comprehensive system of political economy, which included Smith's description of a system of market-determined wages and free rather than government-constrained enterprise. His system of perfect liberty was later known as laissez-faire capitalism. Let's stop a moment at Adam Smith. He is a pioneer of political economy and a key figure during the Scottish Enlightenment. He is also known as the father of economics or the father of capitalism. In fact, he wanted to understand how capitalism could be both fruitful and good. He wanted to understand the money system in order to make people happier. His main theory consists of the following points. 1. Specialization. He noticed that in modern businesses, tasks done by one person in a single day could be far more profitable were they to be split into too many tasks carried out by multiple people over whole careers. He claimed that national economies could become richer the more specialized their workforces became. 2. Consumer capitalism. Smith argues that luxury consumerism had a very serious role to play in a good society. It generated the surplus wealth that allowed societies to look after the weakest members. In other words, the people, when they become rich, they would do good to the poor, then society is advocating high ideals. 3. Treating the rich. As to the question how to make the rich to behave well towards the rest of society, he answered, make them feel guilty. Also, he disagreed with making pay the rich high taxes. According to him, high taxes would simply lead the rich to flee the country. He believed that the rich did not really care about the money, but about honor and respect. The rich accumulate money not because they are materially greedy, but mainly in order to be liked and approved of. For Smith, the government should give the rich plenty of honor and status in return for all the good things they do, like funding hospitals and schools or paying their workers well. He said, the great secret of education is to direct vanity to proper object. 4. Educate consumers. According to Smith, it is not big companies' ills, such as low-paying jobs, environmental abuse, and harmful ingredients that degrade the world, but it is our taste and appetites which the big companies merely serve. So the education of the consumer is vital. It means that it is we consumers need to be taught to want better quality things and pay a proper price for them. A good capitalist society doesn't just offer customers choice, it also teaches people to exercise this choice in thoughtful ways. Smith suggests that capitalism can be saved by elevating the quality of consumers' demand. His main idea was on how to reconcile human values with the needs of businesses and creating richness. Whether we agree with him on some aspects or not, in our modern societies the question still remains: how to create an economy that is one profitable and civilized. On this slide, you can see how liberalism either contrasts, overlaps, or stands in relation to other philosophies or systems of economics and politics. We come to the end of this video. Now you know what the philosophy of liberalism is, and I hope you will find it helpful. Thank you for watching.